Following portion of Daytime Tri-Cities is sponsored by AFI, your financial North Star.
Well, in this week's Making Money Manageable, we focus on life's loose ends. It's a lot of big decisions, important decisions, so you will know who is in control when you can't be. Here with more now from AFI Advisors are Robert Ingram, General Counsel and Tax Advisor, and Peter Raber, President at AFI Advisors. And it's great to have both of you with us.
Thank you for having us.
It's always fun.
Started our week at your office, now you're back here in our studio and talking about something that we were just talking about. It takes a little bit it's a little overwhelming, but really so important to start with estate planning.
It is. Estate planning essentially is prior planning for someone's things in case things happen to them. And so preparing for the future is always a good idea. So everyone who is an adult in every stage of life should create their own estate plan. In fact, people who have just started their very first job out of schooling, who have begun to generate wealth, and who have people who they want to take care of with that wealth that they're creating, should immediately start creating their estate plan.
And I think even you talk about wealth and even that word, the estate plan, a lot of people think, well, I don't have an estate, but everybody has an estate that they want to tie up, as you said, all of those loose ends. In fact, we have kind of a graphic to really show that there's a lot of different moving parts and pieces to your life that you really need to look at in order to make that a little bit prettier picture, so it's all said and done.
That's right. Everybody has things. And so most people are familiar with a will, which designates someone as an executor that transfers property to named beneficiaries after someone dies. But that's really a limited look of estate planning. A more comprehensive view of estate planning is also preparing for someone losing their capacity or losing the ability for them to do things for themselves. And the law creates a mechanism called a power of attorney. And the law creates the ability for someone to act on behalf of someone else due to incapacity. And people can act for other people in many different roles. And so the ideal estate planning includes 3 documents: a will, a power of attorney for finance, and a power of attorney for health care, so that all of those loose ends are taken and put together.
And those are big decisions. Those are a lot of your big things, how you want that to play out if you're not able to make those decisions. And I know too, a lot of times those documents age over time, and Peter, that can cause some problems.
It causes a lot of problems. You know, sometimes just not even knowing where the documents are. So once we create these, we don't want to lock them away and never tell anyone where the key is. So that's one thing. But whether the law changes and things that are happening in Robert's area change, or the investment side changes, we deal a lot of times, people will say, this can only be invested on for my kids' behalf within a trust for government bonds. And that was great in 1980 when you could get 10% in government bonds. But if you're earning 0 now, you're really hamstringing. So these are living documents. They're created, but then they need to be reviewed on somewhat of a consistent basis. And a lot of times that inertia of I don't want to make that decision stops people.
Yeah.
And we try to make it less scary. So even if there's a decision that people don't want to focus on, there's probably 9 others that we can at least knock those off, and we know they're in the right place.
So it is a process. And once you start, I'm sure it gets a little bit easier each time.
Every time.
All right, we'll give everybody your information. They've got a great website with a lot of information. You can check it out at afiadvisors.com, or you can visit their office there in Colonial Heights. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us.
Always.
Thank you.
The preceding portion of Daytime Tri-Cities is sponsored by AFI, your financial North Star.